evidence. So I did. I searched 3 of the databases in the Knoll Library, Psych Articles, Psychology and Behavioral Collection, and Psych Info. I restricted the search to only scholarly articles, meaning they're peer-reviewed. We've talked a little about peer review already. And I input the term lumosity. It returned 2 articles published in 2013. So there's not a large body of evidence for or against. There are only 2 articles in these 3 large databases that are peer-reviewed. So let's take a look at these 2 articles and see what they tell us. We're looking for converging evidence or divergent evidence. We're looking for something that will help us to understand how we should weight this information. So this article talks about lumosity, and I've just put this up here because I want to be really transparent. You can see the title, you can see the authors, the publication. The abstract is what we want to read, and it's kind of hard to read, so I copied it and pasted it on the next slide. And aside from what were they trying to do and how did they do it, which is very important to assessing this, I'm just going to, for time's sake, take us down to the outcomes. So I've made those red. The main outcomes and results, individual growth curve analysis, showed participants made significant improvements in progressing through both interventions. Now, they tested an intervention called APT3 and lumosity. We're only interested in lumosity primarily at this point. So they've just told us that lumosity did demonstrate significant improvements. However, limited generalization occurred. All right, so here's where we're talking about going from did I do better on the working memory task or did I do better on problem solving and remembering things? It tells us about the participants, and we see here one participant demonstrated improvement in performance on one of the 5 measures. The other one showed improved performance on some subtest. Interestingly here, we're only talking about 2 people, so this is an N of 2, which is pretty small evidence. It wouldn't be as strong as I'd like it to be for or against. And it says no other significant generalization results emerged. The findings call into question the assumptions that intervention using either of these products will prompt generalization beyond the actual task performed during treatment. So here we have a piece of small, limited evidence, but it's evidence that is in conflict with what lumosity told us, and this is peer-reviewed evidence. It's interesting. The only other article published in 2013 and found in those databases specifically addressing lumosity was this one. Talks about a large data set, and when we blow it up so we can read it more carefully, we see that this article is really not about empirical research. It's not whether it works or not. It's an article talking about the fact that since they have all of these people in all of these countries participating in this product, they're collecting that data and preserving that data, and that data may yield analyses that will inform cognitive science. So there's nothing here to tell me whether lumosity works or not. They're just saying, oh, and it's providing a substantial amount of information that may be analyzed and useful in some way. So now I've looked at information that came from lumosity. I've looked at information in the peer-reviewed domain, and I've not found strong evidence on either side. I'm going to do something that extends a little further. I'm going to go out and I'm going to look at other programs that do the same thing. So there's another product out there called CogMed. It's a different publisher. It's not Lumosity. It's PAR Inc. And it's computer-based working memory and attention training. So essentially it's the same thing. Now, we can't say if it works or doesn't work, the other one would or wouldn't, because they are different products and we'd have to conduct the research. But they are the same theory. They are the same prospect. So it's okay, I think, to extend my search and to look at research for that product. And the question here was, do programs designed to train working memory or other executive functions, in this case CogMed, but that's the same description as Lumosity, make a difference for children with ADHD? This is a meta-analytic review of cognitive, behavioral, and academic outcomes. And meta-analytic reviews are really powerful reviews because they are a way of taking multiple studies, finding commonalities between them that provide that convergence we've been talking about. So when a meta-analysis suggests something is or is not true or does not happen, that's kind of stronger evidence. So I highlighted that section where they talked about it, and they gave it an effect size, and an effect size is a standard deviation unit of how much something changed as a result of a treatment or an intervention or an activity. And the effect size for individuals rating it when they were not aware of what they were rating was 0.14, which is non-existent. That really is noise. If we were reading John Hattie, he would say instructional interventions need to have an effect size of at least 0.40 before we pay attention to them. So you can see that if I didn't know I was rating brain training, but I was asked to rate how well or to demonstrate how well it improved these FAR transfer skills, the answer would be not really at all. In this same review, they had a sample that was not blinded, which means that they were subject to one of those cognitive errors we talked about. I want you to try to figure out what cognitive error that might be. And that group rated or demonstrated an effect size of 0.4 something. So you can see that if you don't know what you're rating, it doesn't work. If you do know what your rating is, then perhaps it does work only marginally. That same article has some highlights, and I make them just a little easier to see. Those highlights are that executive function and attention training for ADHD show limited efficacy. Training on short-term memory improved short-term memory moderately. Training did not improve academic, behavioral, or cognitive functions, and significant illusory rater effects were evident following the cognitive training. So this is kind of a condemnation of CogMed, and by extension would draw skepticism with respect to Lumosity. Another article, and this is a different. Shipstead looked at CogMed working memory training and asked, does the evidence support the claims? And the answer was no. And then another article, Morrison was responding to that Shipstead article, trying to do sort of what Shermer was talking about and parse out the differences and look at the gray zones. But in the long run, Morrison also said that there's really not any strong evidence for this having any FAR transfer, and that more work is needed. It would be nice to find that, but it doesn't seem to be there. All right, so all of that said, you need to look at Moodle. I will have provided some print instructions for what you need to do for Thursday. In essence, what I want you to do for Thursday is to come to class well-versed in the Lilienfeld article, having listened carefully to and explored the material in this short video, and then to bring a product with you. I want you to bring one more article. Can be from any source. It doesn't have to be scholarly, that you think or that states that it supports brain training. And we will then in class use what I've kind of shown you here on how I evaluated these sources to evaluate the sources you brought with you. So your assignment then is to bring one more resource that is promoting brain training, and we will work to determine whether we find it to be science or pseudoscience, supportive of brain training or not supportive of brain training. All right, thank you very much. See you on Thursday.